My name is Wendy. Sitting cross-legged on my bed in my Denver apartment, I'm looking out at the majestic Colorado mountains. It's been 8 months since I left Illinois, and the distance feels like a world away. My real estate agent just informed me that my Chicago condo sold for $383,400, and after all the costs, I've made a profit of $28,400. This money, sitting untouched in my account, is all mine, a far cry from the past when any windfall would have been siphoned off for family emergencies. As I reflect on this new-found financial freedom, my mind drifts back to that fateful night in my childhood home. I was back in my hometown for my mom, Linda's, 58th birthday. The celebration at the town's swankiest restaurant, Le Chateau, was predictably tense. My dad, Robert, ordered the most expensive bottle of wine on the menu, while my brother, Jake, boasted about his latest ground-breaking tech startup. Mom, always doting on Jake, gushed about his entrepreneurial spirit, saying that after 6 years in college, he was finally on the verge of hitting it big. When the bill came, as usual, I reached for it without hesitation. Jake, with his overly dramatic act, patted his pockets and promised to cover it next time. That night, around 1:30 a.m., I woke up with a parched throat. As I got out of the twin-sized bed that now felt way too small for me, I tiptoed down the hallway, careful to avoid the creaky floorboards. A sliver of light under Dad's study door caught my attention. It was strange because Dad never stayed up this late, especially after a few glasses of his favorite scotch. I paused when I heard hushed voices. Dad's deep voice and Jake's panicked, high-pitched tone. "Don't worry, your sister will take care of it all," Dad said. My heart skipped a beat. Jake sounded terrified, but what if she questions the $70,000 loan? I froze, my hand gripping the banister so tightly that my knuckles turned white. Dad, with his smooth, salesman-like voice, replied, "Wendy trusts us. We'll tell her it's a family investment opportunity, and she won't ask any questions." I listened in horror as they detailed Jake's debts: $25,000 in crypto margin calls, $20,000 from sports betting, and $22,000 in credit card bills. Dad reassured Jake that I had excellent credit and could handle this temporary setback. A temporary setback? That amount was more than my annual take-home pay after taxes. Retreating to my room, I was filled with a mix of shock and anger. Memories of all the times I'd bailed the family out came flooding back. The $4,000 for a so-called family emergency last year, the $3,000 to fix Jake's fancy sports car, and the numerous times I'd transferred money to Dad's struggling antique shop. I'd been their personal piggy bank for years. I quickly grabbed my laptop and checked my credit report. Relief washed over me when I saw that nothing was amiss yet. I called my friend Lily, not caring about the late hour. "They're trying to steal my identity," I whispered, fearing they might hear me through the walls. Lily was furious, urging me to take action. That night, as the first light of dawn peeked through the curtains, I created a financial self-defense checklist. First, pretend I knew nothing until I got back to Chicago. Second, freeze my credit immediately. Third, change all my passwords. The next morning at breakfast, Dad casually mentioned that Jake's startup needed a little capital. The nonchalant way he said it, as if he hadn't been plotting to use me just hours ago, made my blood boil. I changed the subject, saying I needed to print some work documents, and asked to use Dad's printer. In Dad's office, I found Jake's credit card statements. There were charges from high-end stores, luxury resorts in the Caribbean, and a $1,800 virtual reality gaming setup. The due date was circled in red, and in the margin, Dad had written, "Wendy's visit, discuss investment." Clearly, I was the investment they had in mind. Back in my room, I logged into my bank account and was stunned to discover that I'd been paying the family's bills for years. Automatic payments I'd set up temporarily 5 years ago when Dad said his antique shop was facing cash flow problems had become a permanent burden. I called my cousin, Mia, and learned that Jake took weekend trips to Vegas every other week, posting about them on a private Instagram account that only my parents followed. Uncle George, Dad's brother, had been covering most of his expenses, seeing Jake as the golden boy who could do no wrong. Remembering all the times I'd sacrificed while Jake was coddled, I was filled with a new sense of determination. I reached out to Lily, who helped me research and implement more security measures. I froze my credit, filed fraud alerts, and ordered new credit cards to be mailed to my Chicago address. I removed my parents from all my emergency contacts and changed all my passwords. A couple of days later, I had a video call with my family. Dad, Mom, and Jake appeared on the screen. I took a deep breath and said, "I heard everything the other night about the $70,000 loan." Dad tried to brush it off as a misunderstanding, but I wasn't buying it. I listed all of Jake's debts and made it clear that there would be no co-signing, no loans, and no more money transfers. Jake lashed out, calling me selfish. He said that while I was living comfortably in Chicago, the family was struggling. Dad, trying to assert his authority, told me that family helps family. I retorted that family shouldn't drain me dry. I reminded them of all the sacrifices I'd made over the years, like working 3 jobs to fund my trip to Washington, D.C. while Jake was given spending money freely. After the call, the harassment started. Jake sent me desperate and then angry texts. Dad called my boss to discuss my mental health issues, and Mom posted vague Facebook updates about ungrateful children. Aunt Carol, Dad's sister, was sent to Chicago to talk some sense into me. But I was prepared. I documented every text, voicemail, and social media post. I set up email filters and let calls go to voicemail. I also sought help from a financial advisor who assured me that my assets were safe as long as I didn't sign anything. I even started seeing a therapist, Dr. Harris, who specialized in family financial abuse. Slowly, the tides began to turn. Jake's credit collapsed, and Dad had to dip into his retirement savings, incurring hefty penalties. The family home, which was paid off years ago, now had a mortgage again. 2 weeks later, I received an email from Jake. He simply said, "You were right. I'm sorry." I didn't reply right away. Some wounds take time to heal. Now, as I look at the mountains, I know I've finally broken free from my family's financial exploitation. I'm using my experience to help others through financial literacy workshops. A young woman in one of my classes asked if she had to pay her parents' credit card debt. I told her firmly that she needed to protect herself. Her relieved expression was a reminder that I'm on the right path. Protecting my wallet was indeed the first step to protecting my heart. I've learned that sometimes, standing up for yourself against family is the most responsible thing you can do.